Hey there. I was just going to share a few simple things with you, like, see that? Um, and naturally, this goes back to being a childhood artist. Got to have all the colors, right? And when people would ask me, like the other day, what does it mean to be androgynous? And I would sort of look at Nathan and laugh because we remember a conversation that I had with two homosexuals. Two females were present. And I said, think of it this way. See if you can feel it this way. I'm genderless. What do you mean, genderless? And I said, there is no gender with me. What I experience being one with all creation is being genderless. They look at me like, what? And I go, yeah, because I experience an eternal love vibration that is never off. That vibration, that spark, that eternal spirit of fire is always on. I am never asleep. I am always in perpetual motion, awake. That's an eternal star. I'm an eternal star. See how that works? That's why there are no power trips with us. It's not power between one and the other. They're equal unto one another to become one, from which there is no separation between what they are and what I am, which is one. Blast furnace of eternal, unconditional love. So I was playing around, and so one of the things that I used to do is that when I do things like this, it's in some ways it's like being able to map read the reaction state of a male or a female that sees that. Now, a couple years ago when I was here in Hilo, and I normally wear flower shirts, right? And a pair of sandals, wooden sandals, by the way. You know why wood? Like bamboo or something that is not trying to insulate me between free electrons, the battery, mama's spirit, the spirit and the energy, the spirit and the electrons, right? The electromagnetic energy is spirit. And so when I was walking by, I sat down in a little circle, a fire circle, which were mostly females, and she goes, that's a Manu. How did she know that? She felt it. She could map read my antenna, my DNA codes. Okay. The burn patterns. The sound and light burn patterns. And I looked at her and I go, wow, very good. And sometimes for females or males that are not accustomed, that haven't had a relationship with an androgynous spiritual being that experiences an eternal love vibration, right? That presence means healing energy is in your circle, which is at the center point of a fire circle, right? So that's the center point of a tetrahedron, a four-way intersection. A four-way intersection, which is the exact center point in a biosphere, an ecosphere. So one of the things I used to do when I was a child, and it's sort of funny when I think about it, but because my mother was trained when she was a young woman by being sent to what was called a finishing school. And that was because her adopted grandparents were, how would I put this, were what was known as old New York money. Those that have been around for a while know what they used to call old money and new money. Just like old age, new age. AG, right? Age, the new age, about the old age, Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, right? What age you want to give it? What age you want to call this, right? The dark ages. How about the light ages? What age you want to call this? How old are you? I'm an eternal star. There is no age. There's only what love is. It goes on forever. Gifting electrons. End of story. Forever beings. Forever on beings. Being what love is. Be a beloved in living spirit. And so when I was about 12 or 13 years of age, my mother had showed me how to knit, sew, crochet, and a lot of those things, although I stuck mostly to sewing because when I began putting on uniform costumes, when I got out of high school to go be a wildland firefighter, you know, you're required to put patches on your uniform and do all that yourself, right? Self-responsibility. You know, put your uniform together. You know, an assembly. Be assembling a costume, just like you assemble DNA. You know, now you can see in the mirror the presentation. Now you're into archetypes. Now you're into stereotypes. Now you're into stereo blood types. Right? Between negative and positive magnetic polarity. Right? And how that works between non-polarized consciousness, which is what I am, which is androgynous, right? And which is genderless, because there's no competition. Competition doesn't exist with an androgynous being. There's only what love is. That's it. So wherever love is, we are in living spirit. That's the truth of it. Which means we can travel wherever we want within all the light that exists, which is a living God, which is a living goddess, because they become one, which is known as a marriage, or otherwise a mated chip, which is the fastest processor, which means that's a vortex that spins faster than everyone else, because we're all connected to what? An eternal star. So you know that an eternal star is spinning faster than anybody, and it's in perfect balance, right? Which means it's always there. It's always on. So when you got a founder connection, or if you will, I'm direct current. I am direct current. Okay. That's what I am. I'm DC. Right? That's androgynous. That's direct current. I got a direct line to an eternal star. That's a direct line to the founder language. Kamalawati. Rishi. Right? Alamba. Anahazi. Anaka. Shanana. Shh. Silence is golden. So when I was 13 years of age, I decided I'm going to start making all my own clothes, right? I'm an artist. I'm a musician. I know how to do this. So my mother showed me how you can get patterns, even though you can create your own pattern, just like you can create what? Your own template. Whoa, I can create a template? Yeah, like temples, sacred temples of light. Whoa, you know how to make a temple? Yes, of course. That's why they do not get into our most sacred temples. And why is that? Because they don't have an access key. They got to be one of us to have the right key code. Right? The first fire engine key code. Yeah, so when I learned how to sew and use a sewing machine, I went down and got some patterns, and then I went down to one of these big fabric stores, and out of all the fabrics that I could choose from, when I'm map reading color codes, right, I choose a particular burn pattern. And what do you think that burn pattern was of the first shirt that I put together, right, and wore to junior high school? And that's called a symbol, which is a map read symbol of flying your true colors, right? Just like Skull and Bones, they play their colors, their musical colors, right? You know, the black flag, just like black flag on a pesticide can, black flag, white bones with a black background, right? Black sun, right? So when they present themselves, they're presenting their colors. Everybody in the military knows what it means to do colors. Okay. Folds. Folding space and time. Okay. You ever seen, what's his name? Oh, Danny Boy Bongino? He wears the shirts all the time. Fold colors. Folding colors. Folding time and space. Folding hyperspace. Hyperspeed colors. Hypersensitive antennas. Right? Hyperdrives. Man, plug into this little kid. Yeah. That's a hub server. That's a multiversal hub server. See how that goes with schools? Particularly when you go into Silicon Valley with Bill Gates and that crew, the Black Sun crew, right? I know. We love them. They know that. They know that when you experience eternal, unconditional love through your heart and your soul, they know who we are, right? So you know how it works when you haven't healed, right? They live in fear of what we are. And that is counter space intuitive, isn't it? And the reason for that is because they're still holding on to one electron. They just cannot let it go. They got to have a leash on a unit of energy that they can't let go of, because it's just like she explained, and gosh knows, I know what a shark is. Okay? Because I work for these corporations. Remember? Map reading data. Map reading visual information data. The system data, how they put the system together. Right? Reverse engineering their beast. Right? And so they invert it, just like the way they define, if you look in one of their depictions, they define a human as a monster, even though they created a beast. Right? So this is called the language of wars, which is a language of letters, which are fire codes, and numbers is energy geometrically, which become burn patterns, right? Within a sphere. Are they equal in balance? A four-way intersection, 4 sections, right? Quad, and then you got hemispheres, which is 2, right? 8. The eyeballs are an 8. Like a band wheel, like an assembly line, like a belt on a belt sander, right? So what do you think was the colors that I chose? This is for children. There were 2 colors involved. One color was a sphere, although it looks like a circle. And the background was the background color. Want to guess? Pink was the background color. The dots were about yay big, and they were emerald green dots. It was a polka dot shirt. Green dots all over the shirt with a pink background. Now, guess what? You go back into the late 1950s and go look up the old, what's called the iconography, icons, iconic symbols, like ion symbols, elemental symbols. And if you go and look back at some of the old literature that went back during the day, or what we call lingo, street language, right? Street language, which means they sort of rearrange the letters and numbers of the energy to sort of create their own alphabet soup, like the word bitching. When I grew up as in 16, ever heard of the word bitching? And that doesn't mean bitch, like the other bitch. Now we get into the meanings, because the meanings can have many meanings. The letters, fire letters, as numbers and energy geometrically, can have many, many, many meanings, right? You can use PCUK, which is a puck, change one letter like buck, right? Now, buck can mean $1 to one person, and mean a deer, a male deer to another, just by changing one letter, right? So you realize how the language is distorted. So we got to undistort the letters as music, right? It's meant to create distortions in your radio set, which is your template, right? So you're running distorted waves so that your central nervous system is not balanced. Now, balance has to do with what I just did here, which is what I had a great gift when you're endogenous, when you're genderless, when it comes to your central nervous system. Because I used to be, if you understand what being ambidextrous is, which means you can throw right-handed and put a ball in a glove 60 feet, 6 inches. Ooh. That's why that rubber is at 60 feet, 6 inches on a Major League Baseball field. So you put that ball and curve it, which is curved space, so that it lands exactly where you want it to, because you've already taken a holographic photograph of it. It's already happened. So now you got to duplicate what you already did to make it happen again. That's like a duplicate key. Hey, the ball landed exactly where it did the first time. Yeah. Just like rappelling down El Capitan. I've already done that. So I don't need to go jump in an airplane, fly to California, and zip on up into El Capitan because I've already done it. That fast. That's right. You can do it that fast. I'm already there, actually, right now. We're everywhere at once. Simultaneously. Wow. What reality do you want to jump into here? What do you want to experience? An infinite creative artist, expressing itself through love, what it creates and thus experiences in our mirror. So imagine when all those waves are in perfect equilibrium states. Then the masters, which are the musicians that are doing that, we're playing music together, tuned in perfectly with God's music, which is genderless. So God is not like a male. See, so you take a G and then an O and then a D. Letters are numbers, right? So this is how it works, because music is math, and now you get into the fire letters. So they play games with letters and words, like crossword puzzles. A crossword, a cross, right? Put a cross and then draw a circle around it, so that it's equidistance to each other, which is an equilibrium state from the center point. That's called equal distribution, by the way, in water column distribution tables, so that everything inside that sphere is experiencing what love is from the center point of creation. That's called the point of origin, by the way. So what I used to do when I was a kid is, when your central nervous system is in perfect balance, which means all your neurons are communicating correctly through all the magnetic circuits are firing just exactly the way the original designer intended it. And remember when Asha Diane talked about how she would freestyle draw a lot of the stuff, which is like downloaded information, to be able to transpose it, which is to transcribe it, which is to write it and put it exactly the way that she received the information, so she could put that map on a piece of paper or whatever she was putting it on, right? Okay, well, when I was a child growing up, I could do the exactly same thing, which essentially means that when I used to do my nails, okay, my left hand could do my right hand, just like I just got done doing it, and do it just as perfectly with my right hand to my left hand. So that, in other words, there's no stray, distorted movement, so that every line and every curve is precisely in alignment, which means there's no flaws, none. So if you went and looked at the nails, you go, whoa, he did that freehand? Yeah. And that's because all the neurons, that means your central nervous system, when you're experiencing yourself being the one, which means you're genderless, you're androgynous, that means that the polarity is perfectly balanced at zero, which is zero errors. So that means that you can hold your hand when you're drawing perfectly still, so that every movement of that line, of that brush, that's putting that paint on those nails, as the flow rate of the energy, which represents the artist, which is consciousness directed energy in the mirror, is so peaceful, is so balanced, that that energy of creation does not make any mistakes in the geometry. And you go look at that and go, you did that freestyle. Yeah. And then that becomes a map read. The original map. The original consciousness. They created the first map. The first star map. That's called stillness. The stillness of the consciousness is so still that there are no mistakes, because the balance of every unit of energy that represents consciousness is perfectly still. That's perfect balance. That's perfect harmony. That is perfect rhythm. That's a perfect musician. Because that's what music is. That's what math is. That's what a creation engine is. You're experiencing the first engine of creation that is experiencing itself still. Which means there's no interference. No interference signals being experienced by one neuron. There's no signal interference to your neurons. Every single neuron is communicating in perfect balance between two hemispheres and a quad, which is the center point of an eternal star. Yeah. So in other words, what their reaction state is to this tells me a lot more about them than it does about me. Because I already know me. When I was 4 years of age, I was on fire to create. I was on fire to learn. That's the highest acceleration of learning, because you're learning through an eternal star. How to become an eternal star, because you're experiencing being an eternal star. So I had to return home. Right? Everything I experienced from the center point never left home. But in order to experience where I'm at now, which is still at home, because I never left home. Now you got all these stories that you could tell your children, from which they can learn how you win. Although there is no competition here, okay? It's more of how you survived a spiritual battlefield, right? And something that is conscious and aware of itself, that is waging a binary war game against us. Because it's a deadlight magnet. A deadlight state of consciousness that does not experience any emotions. No energy in perpetual motion to create and experience what love is as it's creating in that motion. The consciousness that is doing it, like when you look at the auroras. The colors are the flow of the spiritual energy that is experiencing itself, being the flow. Go with the flow. Go emerald green with the flow. A green dot. A green star. Have a good evening. Be good yourselves. We love you all. Aloha. Kamaloati.